old trusty Mazda, first real freeze of the winter. Got ice on the windows. She fired right on up. God damn, it's cold. All right, guys. So today we are here with my probe and the 626. My tuner's on his way over here right now with my DIYPNP ECU that is now all the way fixed. One of the problems that we were having when we fired it for the first time on the DIYPNP ECU was that it wasn't syncing. The stock distributor has the camshaft and crankshaft position signal on two different style trigger wheels inside of the distributor. Well, the problem we were having was we were getting a syncing issue where when it hit about 2400 RPM, it would start to overlap the signals and get them mixed up, and the car would act like it was on the two-step. So it was breaking up and backfiring and everything, and we couldn't figure out why it was doing that. And then we figured out it was a syncing issue because we would lose at that RPM. Both the signals would get wonky, and then they would actually reverse and then kind of come back. And so right now, he is on his way from his house out in the boonies over here to my house in Spokane. And we are going to be we're going to fire it again on the ECU. We've got a base map loaded on it and tweak the fuel a little bit and everything. And what we're going to do is we're going to see if changing up the syncing settings will end up helping with that sync issue, because as of right now, we were having some problems. So definitely stay tuned, because hopefully today we will be figuring out whether or not this car is ready to start doing some street tuning. We're probably not going to today just because he's limited on time. Today is just going to be figuring out whether or not we can get the sync issue to stop so that we can actually take the car out and do full revs and full boost and all that. Because at this point we couldn't go over 10 to 20% throttle and about 2400 RPM without it breaking up. So today is going to be all about getting the car revving freely, and if we can get that sync issue worked out with it, then we will definitely be doing some street tuning either this week or next week. So she's ready, she's in good shape, she's got the fresh engine, TO4B 50 trim with a 63AR exhaust. As you can see, the exhaust is just a downpipe there. It's got the screamer pipe for the wastegate. It's on 5 Zig and FN01 RCs. It's got an M factory helical LSD 8/6-to-1 cast, non-turbo pistons. It's got a dual spring ported and polished head and manifolds now. No more airflow meter. This car's on speed density. It's got a big old massive, I think it's 28 by 44 by 3 inch core intercooler with 3 inch in and out, with 2.5 inch piping, 2.5 inch exhaust, 38 millimeter wastegate, stock cam and timing right now, and stock 310cc injectors. So we'll be tuning it at 12 PSI to begin with, and then we'll probably bump it up to 16 pounds where it was before, but it'll be tuned. So it made 262 wheel horsepower, 271 wheel torque, untuned on stock ECU. And we're going to tune on pump gas. So if everything goes right, maybe we can bump that up to like 275, 280 wheel horsepower at 18 or 19 pounds on stock injectors. We'll see how that goes. And then I have a set of Snake Eater Performance 1000cc injectors we're going to put in it, and a Devil's Own methanol injection system. So I'm not going to go E85 just because we have no pumps locally here in town. And Thunderbolt is the only company around here that has E85 or 98, and it's $320 or $370 a barrel, 55-gallon drum, so it's very expensive, you know, $6, $7 a gallon. And if I'm going to go that expensive, then I'll probably just do Q16 or C16 race gas. So, yeah, definitely stay tuned, because hopefully today we're going to get the car actually revving and running good. It's been a slow process. My tuner lives about an hour away, and he doesn't come into town very often. I've actually been out at his place for the last couple of weeks, helping him re-side and reframe a couple of shops that are on his property. We redid the metal siding on it. Then I've been helping him remove some trees. I'll insert a really cool scientific clip I learned at his house the other day that has to do with sound waves, which is pretty cool. I discovered that if you have a big fire going, that sound is actually distorted through the fire, even though there's no physical barrier. The hot air is a lot less dense, and so sound waves don't travel the same. So I'll insert that clip now. But if you like this video, if you want to see more content on the probe, make sure you like, comment, subscribe for sure, and share these videos. I'm not monetized. I'm not getting money. Nobody has bought any merch yet, which is not surprising. I'm a really small channel, but I do have merch available if you want to check out some of my older videos. So stay tuned and let me know what you think. Lots more to come with this car. I've got a 56mm 8-blade HX35 that's going to be going on this car with a custom Temp 63AR exhaust housing, T3 open scroll, not twin, single scroll. The 1000cc injectors. I have a set of stock turbo pistons, which are much stronger than these cast pistons, ready to go in. A lot is coming for this car. I've got a monster clutch, which will be going in here really soon. So stay tuned, everybody, and definitely let me know what you think. Noticed an interesting phenomenon. Listen to the cat running over there. The smoke and heat blocks the sound. Is that not the craziest shit you've ever seen? So here we are doing some more messing with the probe. It's idling, but it's acting funky. It's losing tack signal because the tack is jumping when it does that. So the probe is running, albeit not excellent, on the DIYPNP ECU. My buddy Mike's out here helping me. And yeah, we're just trying to get it to where the crank and cam position signal, is it, are synced up, because we're having a weird overlap issue where we intermittently lose signal at a little over 2500 RPM. So we're playing with some ways that the DIYPNP actually sees the signal to try and see if we can get it synced. Because when we get it synced, then we'll be able to go all the way through the RPM range, and it won't act like it's on the two-step at about 2500 RPM. And then we can get everything calibrated and start doing some street tuning here in a little bit. So at this point, we're kind of not focusing on timing maps or fuel maps. Pretty much at this point, it's just trying to get that issue sorted, and once we get that issue sorted, then we can fine-tune everything to where it's actually ready to start tuning. Alright, so again, she's running. We're just trying to sort out this syncing issue at this point. Mad scientist is working on the computer, trying to make sure that we don't have to rip apart the block and replace the piston rings of fried. But yeah, we're having a issue where it's acting like it's on the two-step, and it's doing it at a lower RPM now, so we're trying to get that sorted out. So we'll see how much progress we make.
What's the temp say?
Oh, probably about 150-ish.
Bring it up to that 3 and get it up there, and then keep laying into it. I want to see what it does. I want to see if it'll push past it or not.
Launch control!
Okay. I don't think they can go off here until we get... Okay, I can do it.
a cycle. Restart it.
Oh, hold on. Actually, let me open loop. I wonder if this is inverted.
Yeah, the tack went nutty when I did that. It dropped to 1500 and was bouncing.
Yeah, that's what, because that's what it does. Is it's cutting. I've got it set up to cut a combination of spark and fuel.
Oh, okay.
So it takes and it cuts spark off of one cylinder, then cuts fuel off of another. Spark, fuel.
So it's not a retarded timing launch control feature. It's just a spark fuel cut.
It'll cut fuel, cut spark. You can do. Let me. This doesn't have
a timing retard.
Yeah, it
style.
will. You can make it time. You can make it retard.
That's really hard on the turbo and shit, though, isn't it?
Yeah. So launch control isn't bad. You're thinking fucking
anti-lag.
Anti-lag.
Yeah. Okay.
Anti-lag. Anything other than some badass billet turbo, I wouldn't.
No, not a journal bearing $50 eBay turbo.
No. You'll snap that fucking shaft in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that'd be pretty bad. I've seen some people do it even like on an MHI 16G on a brand new one on a Talon, and it just snaps the shaft right in half.
Yeah, that shit's fucking hard on turbos. I won't use it on my car.
Yeah, there's no reason why I would have to anyway. There's only a 50 trim fucking TO4B, so it should spool off a spark cut.
Okay, just hit it, start crank it up without hitting the gas. I want to see what it's going to do.
Sounds like a Harley. Blip, 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 blip.
Oh, that was me. Go ahead and fire it back up.
It kind of wanted to idle up there for a second.
That was me again. I keep forgetting. Okay, hit it again.
She does not like to cold start.
It's not reacting to it. Like, it's not.
The idle air control valve's not.
Yeah, it's not.
Like, it idles up after it gets going. It just doesn't want to idle up right off the start.
And it should. That's the thing, is it should. Because I've got the cranking set up pretty fucking high.
No throttle.
No throttle.
And it's pig rich on startup too.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's fouling plugs on.
The problem is I need to get the coolant temp right so it knows the coolant temp is what I need.
Yeah, I don't know how to get those values either because I don't know anybody who has this ECU on this car. They all run actual Mega Squirt.
Well, it's all the same. Idle up just a little bit. I'll do it again here in a second.
I don't want to show his face, but he's kind of getting engulfed in some smoky exhaust fumes over here.
Bring the idle up just a little.
Yeah, and unfortunately, the factory temp gauge is.
Idle up just a little.
Oh,
Oops.
you're supposed to have me do it before you hit the shit. Damn. Yeah, it's not idling. It starts fine, but it doesn't idle up until... I'm guessing it gets out of a different part of the map, and then that's when it idles up to the... Can't you just tune around the... I've heard of people that actually tune it to not use the idle air control valve. They just use a block-off plate. Because if we can't get it to work right, we'll just have to tune around it.
Yeah, you can. It's not ideal.
Yeah.
You can.
Yeah, especially in the wintertime. Summertime, it's not nearly as hard because you don't have that temperature variance nearly as much. So we're making a little bit of progress. We have the sync issue sorted, it would seem. And once we figure out my clutch switch, we can set up the launch control. But now we're having a problem with the ECU not recognizing the idle air control valve, or idle air or fast idle control valve, whichever one it is. so that when it cold start, when you're starting it initially, it doesn't rev it up. So lay into it. So right now we're trying to figure out the idle air control valve, but if worst comes to worst, I'll have to replace it or tune around it, just because I'm pretty sure it's the original one. I pulled it apart and cleaned it once, and it works on the stock ECU, but for some reason, either when douche nozzle first put this ECU together, either he didn't wire it correctly and we didn't notice when Mike was redoing the ECU, or the valve is plugged up or has an issue now to where it's not working properly. Yeah, if I remember right, he doesn't use his either. He went and tuned around the idle air control valve because he couldn't figure it out or something like that. So he might have wired mine to be the same. Fuck, dickhead. Fire trucker.
Shut it off and then just turn the key back on.
Look, that fuel pump primes every time now. It didn't do that before.
Yeah, it will every time.
Yeah, I had to rewire it because I had a direct. This is the factory fuel pump has a high and a low.
Yeah.
And so I had to switch right to the battery up for the high function, so that when I was running excessive boost, I could just flip that switch and kick the pump
up.
Yeah, exactly, to get more voltage out of it, so it wouldn't go lean. And it ended up the fuel pump would randomly kick on 2 or 3 hours after the car sit and kill the battery. So I set it back to factory wiring, and now the fuel pump primes every time, and every once in a while it wouldn't prime before. All right, so what you just saw was many of the processes that go through tuning a car. Figured out that a couple of wires that, of course, I did were backwards. So we got the intake air temperature signal working correctly. We got the syncing issue with the distributor sorted out. So the car revs all the way to 6,000 RPM freely now. What we're going to do is next time he comes into town, we're going to set the base timing on the DIYPNP ECU at 10 degrees before top dead center for ignition timing. Cam timing and everything's already good. And then since we know that the intake air temperature sensor is now reading the correct values, to calibrate the coolant temperature sensor, since I cannot find the actual values, we're just going to play with the settings until they match the intake air temperature sensor with the car dead cold before we even start it or mess with it. And then we'll know that the values are really close. And as long as they, match the factory gauge pretty closely, we know those values are good. And then we're going to take the car out and start driving it and doing a base map. So stay tuned. Some street tuning is coming very soon. So I hope you guys like this video. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you later.